Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mobile Pathways Democratizing Immigration Justice. We are a nonprofit that helps nonprofits and immigration attorneys better reach their clients, immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. My name is Bart. I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm an immigrant myself. And I'm just very passionate about the intersection of technology to be able to do social good. And what we're talking about today, much like myself when I came over here, much like anyone that walks across the border, one of the first thing a refugee, an asylum seeker, or an immigrant gets is a mobile phone. It's a way to communicate with their families, stay in touch. But we also know that 97% of the texts that are sent, and this is to anyone, but immigrants included, of course, are read within 3 minutes. And in such a chaotic and bizarre environment as we're living in now, that's vital to get precise, accurate, and vetted information to the people that need it the most. And that's what we're going to talk about today, and how we enable attorneys like Jody Goodwin, who's going to join with us, who's joined us today to talk about her experiences in Texas. Jeff, the other co-founder, who is also an immigration attorney, and Francisco, our program director who works in Mexico, and he'll be talking about some of the trends he sees there. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jeff, our co-founder. Jeff has been an immigration attorney for over 10 years, specializing particularly with refugees and asylum seekers, and started using mobile texting technology at his law firm, and was the basis for founding Mobile Pathways. Jeff, if you'd like to go.
Yeah, sure. So we can start things off by participation. If everyone has a cell phone nearby and wants to see firsthand how this works, we have a demo. And if you write the word help and you text that to that number you see on the screen, the 480 number, then you can see how the system works in action. And then we can circle back around to exactly the text you're getting in just a few minutes. But just to give you a little bit of more context of what we're doing here, I work with refugees, immigrants, asylum seekers, and one of the things, as Bart mentioned, they all have text, they all have phones, and so, but what I realized is that even though my law office was able to reach people like in mass, everyone else, as I was looking around, all the other nonprofits and other small law firms needed the same type of technology because they're also reaching, they need to reach lots of people and things change quickly. And so the concept was we form a nonprofit where we basically pay for the build and the development of this technology that we could then share with others. And I'm just going to cut to the chase because we don't have a lot of time here, but the three questions that all clients ask me when they come into my office are the three questions I'm going to answer for you. How much does it cost? How long does it take to implement? And is this going to be successful? So the cost is we're trying to bring this to everyone for free. We're doing the fundraising. It's not a huge cost, but there is cost involved for us to implement. We're looking at some weeks, maybe 1.5 to 2 months at the longest. And the success, as Bart referred to, 97% open rates within a few minutes. And we chose this platform built on Salesforce because there's three primary things that Salesforce does that we believe that no other company can do. One is to provide the security we need. The security in that the data is stored, we're dealing with very highly sensitive information. We need a platform that is not, that people can't break into, they can't get that access to the data. The communications using SMS and WhatsApp. Basically, there's very few solutions out there that can incorporate communications to a database like Salesforce. And then the efficiency, basically being able to do it on scale and to build additional tools. Today, we're just talking about text message, but there are additional tools that make our lives more efficient that can all be built on the same, what they call platform. So if you got the, did anyone try that, get the text message back? I just need maybe one person to answer. Okay, Jody, I see thumbs up. Okay, so the concept is that now that you have basically communication with the platform, this is the same thing you would have with your customers. And so your customers, your clients are now connected to you. You can send them messages in bulk. So I can, at the click of a button, send everyone in this seminar a message. And that's the concept that we want to carry forward with the community, so that you can do that with your clients. So if something changes in the law, if something important happens immigration-wise, that you can text everyone simultaneously the same information. And yeah, do you want me to continue, Bart, or should we go to the next stage?
Yeah, I think we can go to Jody to show a couple of use cases for it. So as Jeff mentioned, we are working now with about 80 different nonprofits throughout the United States, primarily in California and Texas, and mostly on the border, because the border situation has simply become unprecedented in what we're living with. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Jody, who's one of the first attorneys that started using this technology. Jody is known as La Abogada in the border area. She's been in immigration attorney for over 20 years, worked at the U.S. Department of Justice, is one of the 1% of immigration lawyers, and won a Human Rights Award from Arthur C. Helton for her work. And so it is a true honor to introduce Jody to talk about her experiences with what she saw and how texting and our technology helped empower so many people with the power of justice.
Thank you, Bart. Sorry, I had to take myself off of mute. I'm glad that you all are here to be able to see what Mobile Pathways can do to change really the way that you can practice law, the way that you can communicate with a client base. I have been working with a project that sort of started ad hoc, but then changed into a little bit more formal nonprofit under the guise of Catholic Charities to provide legal services to individuals that are stuck in Mexico under the Migrant Protection Protocol, or the Remain in Mexico program. If you don't know about the Remain in Mexico program, it basically was a policy implemented by the Trump administration to have individuals that are seeking asylum to wait in Mexico for their hearings. And as of today, there's approximately 72,000 people that have been sent back to Mexico to wait for their asylum hearings. So as you can imagine, it was sort of a wake up to realize that there were that many people that would be stuck in Mexico with no access to legal service providers. So you can see that because of the fact that they're in another country, it ends up that statistics bear out that almost everyone has to go to court without a lawyer. There are very few people that have lawyers. Roughly somewhere between 3 and 5% of people actually are represented when they go to court under this protocol. And it's really difficult for them because with the grant rates in asylum being so low, adding on top of that, the fact that you have lack of access to legal services or legal information means that the denial rate within the MPP program is really high. It's kind of like a unicorn that comes out of the forest when someone actually is able to win. We are looking at a very slow, low rate of people that are being granted. So this picture that is on your screen right now really is the start of a story. When I first met Jeff O'Brien, he had come down to the border to see what was going on, because as an immigration attorney himself, he heard that there were lots of people that were stuck in Mexico and wanted to see for himself what was happening. And this is a picture of what Jeff found me doing. And that's just a live action shot. It's not as wide of a screen as it could be to be able to show you all the people, but I would go across the border literally on the street and give legal orientation, or if you are an immigration lawyer, you might understand what a charla is. I would give charlas, I would give legal rights presentations in the middle of the street in ungodly hot weather, to anywhere from small groups of 100 to, by the time that MPP was fully implemented, we had at the height, I think around 2,200 people that were living in a refugee camp on the banks of the river. So practicing law in this sort of street lawyer fashion was not sustainable. And it was a very inefficient way to be able to try to reach so many people that needed the information. And then I met Jeff, and he showed me the magic of technology and using videos and also using text messaging to get information, forms, documents, any flyers that we had prepared to give legal information to people. We could send those out over text messaging so that people could have them at their fingertips. And what it did is it transformed my ability to provide legal services to a large number of people. And it also made a gateway to other organizations that were also providing direct representation to individuals to use the service as well. And what we do, or even to this day, in fact, today, as soon as we get finished with this webinar, I need to do another video to send to the people who are on our service. I can get out information to dispel rumors, which run rampant. You know, there's a lot of desperation for individuals that are waiting in Mexico for their hearings. So I can dispel rumors very quickly. I can also bring late breaking news very quickly so that accurate information gets put out to a large population. And then because we're able to house the videos on a YouTube channel, that information can be replayed and replayed so that it's shared a lot for people. One point that I want to make before we move on to Francisco, and he kind of shows you how this actually works, is at the outset, although we were able to recognize quickly that most migrants had a cell phone, what they didn't have was money to have a data plan. And because they didn't have money for a data plan, they had to rely upon Wi-Fi spots to be able to use messaging services, which led us to realize that we're much more effective by using a WhatsApp platform to send messages. And thank God to Mobile Pathways for developing the technology to send bulk messaging via WhatsApp so that we can reach, you know, thousands of people at the same time instead of having to have small chat groups within WhatsApp. So I guess I'll leave it there. And if you, you'll see how things work after we do the little demo with Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. And thank you again for everything that you do to help ensure everyone can get a fair shot, which is really what we're trying to do.
Right, exactly.
And Jody's right. We've now sent about 50,000 texts, both within the United States, at the border, and into Mexico. And right now we're seeing half and half with some of our partners that are using it in the early trials. We are using WhatsApp just as much as SMS, with the reason, as Jody pointed out, because of that, with Wi-Fi access and ease. The other thing that I'd like to point out about WhatsApp before introducing Francisco, it's important. As migrants move, the number doesn't change. WhatsApp is incredibly popular because these camps have people from Venezuela, from Cuba, from many different countries, and WhatsApp, your number doesn't change, which is why it's an incredibly important distribution mechanism to get that information. And no one knows as much about that as Francisco. Francisco is a dreamer. He moved to the United States when he was 5 years old. And is now back in Mexico, thanks to what we are unfortunately calling the Trump effect. He wasn't able to get into the law school he applied for because of the harsh policies that were put in. Now joined our team to be able to help create the dream for others. Francisco, if you'd like to talk about a little about what you're seeing at the border.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so I've been in Mexico since December of 2019. And we've been texting in Mexico since late December, early January, primarily in Matamoros, Mexico. Then COVID in late February, early March changed everything. And so in addition to texting information related to immigration procedures and court information, we were sending information that was more public health related and COVID-19 related. And we started texting for Global Response Management, which is a clinic in the Matamoros camp. We texted information that they wanted to send out it included, tips and advice, and also if anyone in the camp felt sick or displayed symptoms that could be COVID-19, and that they would be assisted in the camp or would be referred to a hospital in Matamoros. All of these efforts helped to sort of calm people who, it was very easy for them to feel like they were going to be abandoned. In fact, some of the texts that GRM sent in late February said that they were not going to leave, even if the border closed, they were not going to leave people unattended or without any possible medical attention, especially in the context of the global pandemic. So all of these texts that were not related to immigration helped the people in Matamoros. Another trend that we've been seeing is that COVID basically led to a shutdown of the border, and people started looking for a plan B. Obviously, for many people, the goal is to reach the United States, but COVID and this administration has forced people to look for other options. And one of those options is to apply for asylum in Mexico. So in addition to sending information on US asylum processes, we've been sending information that helps people apply for asylum in Mexico. And one of those, one of our activities is to send videos recorded by UNHCR or put together by UNHCR and HIAS in Mexico, where we send information in Spanish and also in indigenous languages from Guatemala, basically explaining to people what the situation is currently at the border.
And we'll actually send you a playlist of these videos after this webinar. Many are applicable for all immigrants and in different languages. As we get more and more partners using the system, we're getting more and more videos and getting curated playlists that could be enabled and sent to other people. So we'll send that playlist afterwards. And at this point, we're going to do a really brief demo of what it looks like. I'm going to stop my share, and this is not a, all right, Francisco, you can take over. I'm going to walk through verbally what Francisco is doing, as he's actually going to send out a live message. To clarify a little bit from what Jeff was saying, we use this ourselves on the behalf of other partners. We also have other partners using it. They see a similar view, and we are now starting to expand upon it. So just a couple of quick things that you're seeing. We have masked this a little bit because this is going to be a real message that is going to be sent to the camps right now. This is a video from UNHCR being sent to about 200 people or so. There are campaigns. That's essentially a grouping of people put together. And you can actually click really quickly if you want to send it to all or one or the other there on the left. Here is something called snippets. These are pre-populated bits of information. Different partners are often responding with the same things. As Jody mentioned, sometimes rumors show up, and it just might be really quickly to have the same auto response, so it's the same piece of information going back. We share these across because often we get very many similar questions. So it helps to write like a canned response, because many of the questions, especially after one video about one topic or just one update is sent, many people have the same questions. So this makes it really easy to be able to respond quickly. And just one last thing before we click the send button, you do have this capability to use WhatsApp or SMS. WhatsApp is a very important way to communicate. Billions of people are on it. It's also easier to use groups. It's very popular in immigrant communities to communicate, or you can send it directly to SMS as a text. The video comes in as a link, so people click on it, and then it takes them to be able to watch it automatically. This is not an app. It's very important to know for immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers, this is an app. This is literally a message they get on their phone or WhatsApp through Mobile Pathways. Sometimes we work with Catholic Charities, East Bay Sanctuary, others, they know it's coming from them, so they automatically trust the information. Obviously they know Jody in the camps. Many of the women that are featured in the UNHCR videos, they know them directly. So they have that trust, and we can get the right information. And at that point, let's go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make one point clear. We don't want you to think that Francisco is going to be sending all your messages. We want you to be your own Francisco. All right,
And
go
we
for
will
it.
help you get there.
Yeah.
Let's fire away. And at that point, we're going to pause here in terms of any questions that we can ask from the audience. We will probably start seeing automatic responses to this as we're talking. But at this point, thank you for coming and learning a little bit about our technologies. If people are interested, I will send a follow-up email with this recording and the presentation in PDF. We can help you get started. Any questions that we can address before I read from the Q&A?
I see one quick question down there. Is there any way we could volunteer with Mobile Pathways? You want to?
Yes, we have a couple of projects we're working on simultaneously as we're both from a technical perspective, but then also as we're growing. There's lots of materials we're trying to create we have now over 80 partners. We need help creating collateral. We need help with translations. This tool that you see in front of you works in any language. We have messages in English and Spanish. And even one of the reasons we use videos is because it can be used in indigenous language that actually have no written language. But we do need people to help translate and we have many partners that represent our Korean, our Vietnamese, our Polish communities, and getting translation of the most popular messages would be very helpful.
Yeah, I think on that point, one of the things about the community we're developing is so that people can collaborate and share information with one another. So even though all the people on this phone call, are connected right now, I guess, through this video, but in the community, you can connect with one another too, and ask for videos to share. Because at the end of the day, we're all working on a lot of the same concepts as one another.
Another question that came from Monument Impact is the pricing structure. This is free for nonprofits. We exist and have a mandate to provide this technology, and through our partners and donors and foundations that support us, to provide this technology for free. It is our intent that it will be free for nonprofits and always will be free. There may be limitations to that in terms of the number of messages. We do have large partners that are looking to send hundreds of thousands of messages, and there is a very tiny and incremental cost for us to consider that. But for, I'd imagine, 95% of nonprofits that want to send a few thousand messages per week, that is free. We will be charging immigration attorneys a fee to use this service. They would also like to use this. That helps subsidize the usage of the nonprofits. But for anyone that is a 501c3, this is a free technology.
And yeah, something else we may want to just point out is that it's really important to be able to respond to people as well, because when people get messages, a lot of the times there's can be confusion around it or the anxiety. And so the messages will come back to you. You can open up something like what Francisco has been kind of showing around, and then responding to those individualized questions.
Another question, this one might be to Jeff. I don't know if, I definitely don't know. And maybe Jody, because I know she uses WhatsApp a lot. Isn't the message only temporary in WhatsApp? If it is viewed in a certain period of time, will they miss it?
Not that I'm aware of, not from our platform.
No,
here.
in fact, it's cached in the WhatsApp chat from that particular phone number until you erase or delete that chat thread. I've been able to, because I actually subscribe to the same service that I send messages out to, just so that I know what it looks like when people get it. And that way, when there's questions about the messages or the links that they can click on for the YouTube videos, at least I'll know what's happening. But I haven't had an issue of messages disappearing in WhatsApp.
There's a lot of people ask about other documents sent. It does accept certain formats of documents. So if someone is texting in a document, then that will be attached automatically to that person's profile. And that's important because a lot of people are asking us to look at documents. I'm sure they do for everyone on this phone call. What does this say? And then if they send it to you, it'll be attached directly to theirs, and you don't have to download it and upload it somewhere and all that stuff.
And I'd add on to that too, from Francisco, we often hear images are very important. Literacy is a thing that we need to be mindful of. And videos often, you know, can help with that, but images that explain things in very simple terms can also ensure that the concepts are readily understood. So the ability to send images is also vitally important.